episode of the Unsettled, and in this one, this is a special one, a very special one. Considering we dabbled in the case before, we haven't dabbled in it into this in depth, which I think we should. And I said that we should, you know, as our first video was more or less going over the victims and who we kind of thought it would be. We've now got a large amount of.
We've got a large amount of information,
but we've also got.
But we've narrowed it down to certain aspects,
and we've got just a little bit more information on the suspects that I have personally came up with, judging throughout the time of the murders.
Yeah.
And you're going to stick to your guns on who you think.
Yep.
No matter what information I throw at you, you're still going to be like, no.
Well, I shall try. But I've got my solid person that I feel that it is, and it could be.
Now, before we begin with, do you just want to tell everyone that you hate the royal family?
I don't hate them. I just believe that they have secrets and lies that should be told.
Aliens. They're aliens. I saw that. I saw your head movement. You were like... Every time you tell me ghost exists, I'm going to go...
You do anyway.
But no, we're going to open up the Jack the Ripper case. We're going to revisit the case.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to go deeper into, like we said, the suspects, the theories, mainly the motivation behind it as well. I mean, was Jack or Jill the Ripper just mentally insane? Were these women possibly not necessarily a target, but were they just randomly picked? Because it would make more sense.
Yeah. Was it preempt?
Yeah. But we're going to dig into a bit of the history of Jack the Ripper properly this time, and then we're going to go forth and we're going to give you, I don't know, a list of suspects. And we've also, I don't know, you kind of found my last suspect a bit funny, but
we'll get to that one.
Yeah, we'll get to that one. So if you like the Unsettled so far, we will be obviously releasing season 2 very soon. I am still here. I have not moved. I want to move. I've had a birthday, but I've had a traumatic time. I'm now old and ancient and bruising very easily. And yeah, so if you like the video, don't forget to share it. We've still got a competition going to the end of April. You've still got your artwork you want to give away.
Yeah. Yeah, there's going to be, I've decided there's going to be a main piece, and then there's going to be a smaller piece just as a more personal thing.
Oh, that's nice. Oh, so everyone gets a piece of cake.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be a mainstream picture.
Oh.
But then there's going to be a side bit.
I wish you'd tell me all this before we begin recording.
Well, I thought I'd throw that in just to
throw me off.
Yeah.
Right. Should we crack it? Should we crack the case? You're sticking to your guns. Okay, so don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, do whatever you guys do. Yeah. Or just do nothing, which most of you do. But it's entirely up to you.
Just sit back, watch, and listen.
Oh no, you've really put me on the spot. I've got to read this correctly. I did write this correctly. Okay, so we set the scene. In the 1880s, the East End of London was a perverse hotbed of illegal activity. Oh, what one? The perverse hotbed or illegal activity?
The whole phrase. The whole phrase.
I'm good, aren't I? I'm a good writer.
That was good.
Right. This next bit you're going to laugh at. Extreme poverty had driven away a lot of people from the East End. Yeah. But it had also increased a lot of the violence, people being addicted to alcohol, thieving,
crime aspect,
and prostitution, right? The area was considered the most dangerous in London. It was not until, obviously, 1888, when the first of the 11 murders took place, the authorities then decided to pay attention. Between 1888 and 1891, 11 women in total were murdered. All allegedly sex workers, all active in the now famous Whitechapel area.
Yeah.
And it's active in that area because of the activity. Yeah. I'm just going to ask you, would you really like to be around then? I mean, it's the most crime-ridden place. Would you go back? Would you...
What, would I travel back? If I could travel back, would I go and visit?
Yeah.
No. I would probably get mugged, beaten, and tossed out of that bloody fine county.
Well, judging by the amount of prostitutes there, you'd definitely be
Well,
tossed.
I'd have a good time.
You'd be tossed! At least.
Also mugged. Come on, itching.
You probably have come back with an STD or something. Jack the Ripper has been accused of all 11 of these murders, yet 5 signify his handiwork. Yeah. I wouldn't necessarily say it was handiwork, but
it wasn't really signify. It was more define. It was the 5 that we previously talked about were the ones that were the main characters, basically.
They're the main, yeah. But obviously murders were happening all around Whitechapel, but these ones had the distinctive mark of Le Jack the Ripper. Yeah. Whether we want to go into this. These 5 women have had no real identity, only the canonical 5, yeah, is that correct? Yeah. And their names, basically are about their demise. Yeah. So no one really knew about these women, in all fairness. Mary Ann Nichols, Anne Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, and obviously your favourite, Mary Jane Kelly, are their names. These 5 are only known by the murders of a man or a woman who is still not known. So it's kind of sad, really, that these women are only known for being
one thing.
Yeah, for being the canonical 5. Yeah. Prostitutes is the word to describe these women. You're really going to love my writing in this bit here. You're going to be like, yet no one looks deeper. These women, believe it or not, were mothers, wives, daughters. They worked as house servants, bath maids, seamstresses. They picked hops and lived in cottages. They also obviously had time in inns, workhouses and B&Bs, right? In a way, these were women that were hit by society in such a big way that
they had to earn something.
And they were let down by the government and society itself. So it's kind of like, in a way, it's kind of like today's women have more advantages than these women. I mean, one woman specifically was a really good seamstress. She would make dresses and stuff, and I think it was Elizabeth Stride. And
I believe so.
Yeah, but she wasn't really known for making amazing dresses. All she's known for is being a victim. Yeah. And it's kind of sad in a way that society literally just pushed them onto the streets.
Yeah. Their own history gets lost. With just one man/woman.
Exactly. These women, grouped together by the Ripper's story, like I said, they're all grouped in a way where you're thinking like, okay, it's kind of sad. Because most people back then had a skill. I mean, like I said, that's someone's daughter, that's someone's mother. Yeah. That was literally just ripped apart, and she's only known for being killed by Jack the Ripper.
As I said, like, all of their histories are lost. Like the seamstress, like the baker, like the...
They're like, how can I put it? They're symbolic to one man or woman. Yeah. And it's weird. Yeah. It really is weird. Okay, the media at the time was riding high with terror, using Jack the Ripper as an outlet to drive fear into the women of London. You really like my rhyme, isn't it? I can tell you're really into it. Jack the Ripper is a morbid curiosity the world loves. What?
Morbid curiosity that the world...
You can tell I've had time.
You swallowed a dictionary and a thesaurus, mate. I'm not going to lie.
No longer is the murders of these women about justice. It is much more... There's much more of a darker fascination now. Yeah. A puzzle the world has claimed to solve.
A lot of people have claimed to solve it.
That's what I mean. So it's not just about the justice of these 5 women. It's now just like, I solved the puzzle, I win. It's not about these women anymore.
Fascination of curing something that cannot really be cured, like solved. Yeah. It's
but then every person
the most powerfulest Rubik's cube, and there's like little
everyone
in 3 seconds. Yeah. Everyone's played it.
Everyone's gone. Oh yeah, it's him, it's her, it's this person, it's this person. Yeah. And that's all they want. They want that little signifying justice to go. Yeah, it was that. Whereas I'm looking at it, thinking like, okay, well, maybe these women deserve justice, and that's how it originally was. They needed justice. The killer needed to be brought forward. And nowadays, it's just the morbid curiosity, like I said, of people just going, yeah, I've solved it. It's him. It's her. It's no longer about, hang on, he killed women here. It's now more of a, no, I win.
Yeah.
It's a more
It's
I
like,
win factor.
I've solved it. I don't care about anything else.
Yeah. There was no one cares anymore.
No.
And they didn't care to begin with.
No, well, yeah, that is true.
Because if they cared, they would have had proper burials and so on, but they never did.
Yeah.
Okay, so the claims have been far and wide. The suspects are over 100 people. Yet no one was ever brought forward. Jack the Ripper was a Prime Minister. He could have been a Prime Minister.
Could have been a Prime Minister. Could have been
a royal. Queen Victoria's grandson, Prince Albert. There you go. This is what you wanted. And even author of Alice in Wonderland, Lewis Carroll. Will the guessing game end? No. I doubt it.
No. Everyone will still pick something.
Yep.
Or some new information will come up.
It's bound to happen.
It's bound to happen. You have cold cases nowadays.
I mean, okay,
like from like 40 years ago that they
yeah,
go, oh, we've found a new shoelace.
I'm going to step away from this bit for a second, but a person came forward and said, oh yeah, I've got a scarf of someone that was related to one of the women that died, right? They checked the scarf, they did the DNA, turns out, no. It's not that person who they thought it was. And the DNA was just fake. Not fake, but
it was someone else's DNA.
It's relevant because it's in their family, but that scarf that they claimed was part of that prostitute woman, it was too high value for a woman of her calibre to have. So that scarf that they found in the area, which apparently is the only thing they've ever found, did not belong to the woman that was killed. And I'm not going to say her name because I'm sure there's family members, even though we have announced the, Chronicle 5. But I'm not going to say whose scarf it was, but the scarf did not relate to that woman that was killed. It's kind of... It's a guessing game.
Yeah.
It's a game of guess who. But I feel that I've got the suspects that I think are like, boom!
More closest, more significant maybe.
And even what I told you earlier is significant in its thought process.
Yeah.
Right, so the killings took place within a mile apart. The bodies mutilated in a sadistic and unusual manner, with organs removed, as we all know.
Yeah.
4 of the 5 women were married. Mary Jane Kelly does not appear in official records. Her life is that of a beautiful mystery. And the reason why she doesn't appear is because not necessarily she's foreign, but she doesn't have a background, which in itself is a mystery to me. How everyone else has records and she doesn't. Or were they eradicated at some point in time? Now, if you think back to that theory I told you, which I will discuss with you guys, but it makes sense that her records would vanish.
It does make sense.
Did London, at the time, have copycat killers? That's a question that no one will be able to answer.
No.
Because say one woman is mutilated and the person got away with it, or they died, or they committed suicide, or whatever, or they just left London, Whitechapel area.
Yeah.
Did someone else then go, hey, he got away with it, maybe I could? Are they all linked to one person, or is it... This is what I think. Is it copycats?
That's what I mean. Like,
was it one man, a woman, or a group caught up on the shock,
or the fantasy of getting away with it,
and it gripped London and it made headlines? So this is the point where everyone's like,
well, you could think in a crime-ridden area, one person does something, gets away with it, goes, I got away with it, but I'm off. That's it. I'm done.
Yeah.
Next person goes, right, I'm going to do one. See if I can get away with it.
It's copycats.
He gets away with it, buggers off.
Maybe Jack the Ripper was...
Keep going until everyone's like, you know what? We'll all do one. And then we'll see how far we can get.
It doesn't help you said we'll all do one and allegedly they're all prostitutes. Yeah, we'll all do one, it'll be fine.
Well, no, but it's the thought process back then. You know, like, they didn't really care for these people, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. Like, no one cared.
They were the lowest of the low. Even though they had the families.
Yeah.
they were still looked on in society as being the lowest of the low.
May I just add, many women would also spit on these women as they rode around in horse and cart. So it does go to show what type of people and society they lived in was pretty harsh.
Yeah. So no one would care.
Okay.
That's what I was trying to put across.
No, I was just literally thinking, like, as I wrote down here, like, did London at the time have copycat killers? Like, was one person that mad that they thought, they looked at the newspaper and thought, hey, he's got away with it, I can do it. Like, you know, were they that?
Maybe it is the chronological 5 that we've discussed in the past, and these other 6 women are just 1 or 2 other people, or is it just this one person?
It's a guessing game.
It is.
We could do it. We could do it again.
As you said, it's like Guess Who, but they've taken the killer and they've robbed it in a bit.
No,
so you're like, I don't know who it is.
No. It's a game.
It's a never-ending finish.
A game of Guess Who, but no one's guessed right.
Well, we just don't know the whole story.
No one's guessed right. Okay. So let's crack back in. We know the horrific events, the letters, the removal of organs, and how the suspect preyed upon women. But something about Mary Kelly's death plays havoc with me. Her body lay mutilated on a single bed. She rented in Spitfields. She was disemboweled, her face unrecognisable. Right.
Yeah, and obviously you guys, you can, if you
just type it into Google.
Yeah, if you see a picture of this, it's not pretty, I will warn you. It's disgusting. But this is what
you know what, I'm a bit of a sicko and I'd like to see it in colour, see how mutilated it fucking was.
You would get the whole story, but from the black and white picture you can see that you wouldn't be able to tell any facial features from it.
This is where you're going to feel a bit weird, because I literally looked up the whole thing of Mary Jane Kelly. Okay. So her throat was slit so violently it was severed down to her spine. And almost all of her organs had been removed. Her uterus, kidneys and one breast placed beneath her head. The other organs on the bedside table. Does that set well with you? Her heart, may I add, was never found.
Nope.
See, this stuff we didn't go into before. Now I'm looking at it from a detective point of view. I'm like,
well, okay. I think we went over some of the parts on how she was found, but not properly, in depth.
But her heart was never found, right? So to me, I'm thinking, was this the work of someone only wanting her heart? Yeah, but so you remove all the organs.
You wouldn't go through the whole inventory of a human body just to go, yeah, I only want this bit.
Depends how sick that mental person is.
So it's I'm going to take a lot out and only take one item.
If someone was deeply obsessed with Mary Jane Kelly, and she does seem to be a bit of a mystery, right?
No, this is true.
Right, and judging by the pictures, other than the one where she's mutilated to fuck, right?
Yeah.
She might have been the prettiest one out of the bunch, and she did have a chap in question. Right, so is it the fact of that he, as we obviously we'll get into the theories, right? Is it simply the fact that he didn't want no one to have a heart, so he took it because he was sick of
Picasso kind of.
Yeah, you see what I mean? Like he knew that she liked women. She would bring men back to her place.
Well, men and women.
Yeah,
that's what I mean.
Yeah. So is it the fact he was just an obsessed lover? Because it's not unheard of today for someone to.
No, it is.
I'm just
not.
throwing that one out there. But... Right. So he removed her heart, or he or she removed the heart, or was it actually eaten? Right. Was the killer more of a cannibal? What I believe is the woman on the streets would have had the same result. So what I'm trying to get at is, the person that killed Mary Jane Kelly, is it possible that the women on the streets would have had the same result if they were in the bedroom?
I suppose you had more time to actually do it properly, like the way that's the end game.
So I'm thinking, like, because the women on the streets were rushed,
as we said, were they disturbed? We know most of them, or some of them, were disturbed.
Yeah, but so think about it. if the other 4 women were in a room, would this have been the same
Would
characteristic?
they all be set out?
Yeah, like this.
Mm-hmm.
It's a thought process.
Yeah, no. It is a thought process. Like, obviously, when it was in the room, he or she or they had time to.
Yeah, I mean,
probably lay out
Mary
the
Jane
scene.
Kelly was obviously alone with the killer, right?
Yeah.
And then obviously the women were on the streets. So do you reckon that it would have happened to the same women, or do you reckon there was something about Mary Jane Kelly that doesn't quite...
See, it doesn't quite sit. Purely for the fact that...
This is why I said it wreaks havoc with my mind. Because I'm constantly thinking there's something about this woman.
It just doesn't...
It's the fact that she went through the worst of what had happened.
But yeah, would you kill, say, 10 people just to get to the one target? Would you... You know, there is obviously killers like that, where they, you know, for instance, some certain armies and stuff, their snipers would take out 3 people, just because they only wanted one high value target, but they would take 3 high value targets out so that it would throw the people off.
So what? Okay, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
So you kind of kill a couple of people just to get to the main mob.
Yeah.
I'm getting what you're getting at.
But it was like practice, main event.
Okay, like obviously Mary Jane Kelly was the last one, right? So it is going to be the most climatic one.
Yeah, the most thing. But then was it just the most gruesome because he knew, or he or she knew
they were alone and they weren't going to be disturbed.
They could do whatever they wanted. Before then, they just vanished.
Okay, so we kind of get the idea that
they've reached a pinnacle.
Yeah, we kind of get the idea that all these women obviously had something horrific to them, like their stabbings, the throat slit, whatever, is done by a certain type of tool that only a certain person would know, right? So are we basically saying then that it would have happened if they were alone in the room with the killer?
Anything's possible. Like the person's got more time.
Yeah.
You know, no one's gonna accidentally walk around the corner. No one's gonna walk past. No one's gonna.
True.
You know what I mean? Like they've got more time.
That is true, but don't forget one of the first women that was killed. No one found her until morning, so he had the perfect opportunity.
Yeah, but you're not guaranteed. You're outside. You're in the open. You could be seen. You could be spotted.
You can.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah, you can.
You can be seen. You can be spotted.
I mean,
if you're behind a closed door with a closed curtains, you won't be able to see nothing.
So the way she's laying, before we move on to our main suspects, right?
Yeah.
So she's laying with her uterus, kidneys and one breast placed beneath her head.
Why those 3? Okay, we'll take this back. So, so first of all, it was what?
The uterus.
So that could signify, in some cultures, it signifies motherhood. It signifies you're unworthy to have children. Okay.
The kidneys.
See, that one's an unknown to me. Like that's
obviously you can die if you lose both kidneys, right?
Yeah.
You need your kidneys to function, but to place them under your head, is this like a totem pole of like you can like the highest a woman could ever do is give birth to a child, right?
Yeah.
And then obviously if you're looking at it from a scientific point of view,
you've got life,
your own life, and then a breast.
Giving life, feeding a child, feeding.
There's something significant in that no one's noticed.
Yeah, no, that is. And that's definitely a cultural thing. Whether it's a spiritual thing, whether it's a voodoo thing, whether it's a.
So you're saying it could be a foreign aspect to London, in terms of it could be a foreign person that's done it in a certain type of significance.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that's fine. Like I said, I wrote out how I found it.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
That's fine.
But it's the fact that her heart wasn't there, but all the rest of her was.
And see now, I'm pretty sure we dived into this in the first one. That's also significant with certain voodoo tribes, with certain aspects of the dark arts, if you will.
So out of all of them, obviously this is the worst one, right? Because of what happened.
It's the most brutal. It's the most gruesome. It's See, the other ones were medical. They were position.
And this one.
And this one's just.
I mean,
to me, it just looks like a hack job.
Okay, right. But it's a hack job to an extent.
It's a hack job, but it's done precisely.
But to slit someone's throat so badly, it
goes down to the spine.
That's like a skinning, which meant, like I said, many people would think it was someone like a butcher.
Yeah.
Right.
A butcher, or yeah.
So then I'm now thinking the person that I'm now thinking maybe the person that cut her was possibly a butcher in terms of this, but I'm gonna quickly say it. There's no real evidence that was Mary Jane Kelly. She was that.
And there's a curveball.
And she was that fucked up.
It's unrecognisable. There was, as you said, like she was skinned. Her you wouldn't be able to get fingerprints. Like that. It's just the that's disgusting. The picture is unrecognisable for a human face.
And so was she.
And so was she.
I'm telling you, there's something about this woman. And I'm gonna look up everything I can about this woman in the future.
It's definitely one of those that
it bugs me.
It deserves more.
It bugs me because all the other women were so easy to identify, and this woman was not.
Why not? Why not? That's the thing. Why not? Why didn't he want to know of her?
At this point, Will, should we should we just cut into it? Should we just cut the thread and go into our theories of our suspects?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah.
You willing?
Let's look at it.
Okay.
Over the years, Jack the Ripper has pretty much been a guessing game. So let's look up some key suspects. And let's try and work out what the motivation might have been and who really was Jack the Ripper.
Right, so our first suspect.
Mm-hmm.
I hope I say his name correctly. I'm no good with foreign names, but Michael Ostrog.
Mm-hmm.
Right, he is our first suspect. He was Russian. So
yeah,
there's no way I'm gonna be able to do that.
I just need to do that.
So you want to say his name again? That last bit. There you go. Say it in your Russian voice.
Ostrog.
There we go. Had lived a precarious life as a thief, a confident trickster. Could it be these women were tricked then into slaughter? In court, this gentleman was classed as nothing but insane.
So, like back then, it's just like,
mate,
insane, juvenile.
We should do a video on why you would be put into an asylum. It's 98 reasons of why you would be put into an asylum. So pretty much the whole world nowadays would be shoved into one if we lived back then. Yeah, it's crazy.
It's like, I write with the left hand in.
But during his court of where he was possibly one of the suspects, he was showing signs of mental derangement and showing offset mannerisms. But his name wasn't a strong candidate for such murders.
No, I suppose it's because of
the way he acted, and the fact he could trick people. He was like, it was what Scotland Yard were like. It could be you. So they're pointing fingers.
Yeah.
I mean, it reminds me of this poster I saw where, like back then, they put it in the newspaper, right? It was a policeman with a little bobby hat on, right? Yeah. And they put a blindfold around his eyes. And there was loads of people pointing and poking him and his arms were out like that, and it was like, why can't the police find him? And it was like, are the police that blind? Not being funny, they couldn't have been on the ball. I'm not gonna lie, they couldn't have been. They couldn't have been.
No. But then, you know, as I said back then, as we've discussed, the crime rate through the roof. Like, it could be just a Soho thing where it's just like no police within 100 yards of a certain area. Like,
and like we said, it didn't really gather so much attention until it began to build up.
Yeah, until it got that momentum.
Right, so Aaron Kosminski, I will say this one correct, described by Metropolitan Police as insane.
Again?
Yeah, he was confined to an asylum.
How convenient.
Yet again, they're thrown into asylums.
Yeah.
This is a common trait. So if I do say he was put into an asylum, it probably happened to this next guy. So just bear this in mind. He resembled a man seen at the crime of Catherine Eddowes.
Yep. Near the end.
Yeah. So, a lot of people still, even today, think it's Aaron Kosminski.
Yeah. This was the Polish guy, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. This is the one that I thought it was last time.
But there was another guy, Jacob Levy, was seen allegedly with Eddowes the night she died. When Jacob Levy was revealed as a butcher, he was also found skilled in ritual slaughter of animals.
Yeah.
So this is another
this
guy.
This is where the was it the butcher and the leather.
The leather apron.
Leather apron. That's it. That's where that.
Aaron Kosminski, and Jacob Levy, butchers.
Yeah.
But this is a time in London where foreign people and Jewish people are frowned upon.
Yeah.
And if anything went wrong, it was them.
It was them.
It was them. So these gentlemen held the Jack the Ripper title for a while, right? They may have done the crimes, but there was also a strong victim of prejudice and, being Jewish and foreign, and they had a lot going against them for the crime. Or
they probably did one, just be like, you know what, if I did it, this is how I would do it.
Can you imagine?
Probably.
You're Jack the Ripper? I'm not. No, we'll let you out on bail. Okay.
Alright, this is how I would do it.
I'll show you.
I wouldn't just stop at it, mate. I'll go all the way through.
But it's one of them things where it's like, okay, so foreign people were looked at and it's like, oh, it's definitely you because you're Jewish. Yeah. It's like, okay, right.
It's victimisation.
Yeah. Okay, or, now we're going to get into this other little lovely bit.
Oh, yes.
Was the Ripper under everyone's noses this whole time? Now this is your favourite section.
Mm-hmm.
So, many men fell victims to attacks, right? The theory the killer knew the streets and the area and possibly knew the women holds such a strong merit. Mm-hmm. Especially today, because people are like, oh, it's got to be you, it's got to be you. Yeah. This chap, Joseph Bennett, born and raised in Whitechapel in Billingsgate, he was a fish porter and the boyfriend of Mary Jane Kelly, right? Yet claimed he was the husband. He also, this was the one you thought it was for a while, right?
Yeah.
He was unhappy Mary had sex with men and women and brought them home. Allegedly, he killed prostitutes to scare Mary, and she never got the hint, so he killed her off too. That's what everyone believed.
Yeah.
While this theory is very strong, there is no evidence.
Nope.
It was this chap.
Nope.
But it would have been.
I remember rightly, he even said right at the end that he didn't do it.
Yeah. But with that mindset, like, okay, he's a possessive lover.
Yeah.
Is this going back to the fact that he possibly could have took her heart? He didn't want no one else to have it?
See, it fits with the story.
It's a good story.
It's a good story.
It's a good bedtime story for your children. Don't forget to read it.
Jack the Ripper went up there. No.
Then Jack and Jill went to Whitechapel.
Come back with just more than a well.
No, they went to Whitechapel to catch a prostitute and get a blowy.
Brown paper and vinegar, where did that come on?
Right, do you want your next man? You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so our next suspect is Charles Allen, the local meat cart driver. But there's a little bit here that makes it a little bit...
It's a twist.
Okay, he came across a dead body in Bucks Row, gave a statement to the police, but he used a fake name. The fake name was Charles Cross.
Why would you use a fake name?
I don't know business with the gov. Don't want no business, don't want no business.
I don't want no eat.
Maybe he didn't, maybe he was like one of them people where he's like, I stay out of trouble, but I did come across what's your name? Charles Cross. Maybe he was one of them people. One of the people that didn't want a problem and he just had that unfortunate event of uncovering her body and being like, oh shit, I now have to do something. Yeah. And I don't want to because I could be next.
Yeah, I don't want the heat. I don't want the problem. I don't want the trouble. Okay,
but the other couple of things are his route past all the murder victims' crime scenes.
Mm-hmm.
The other victims were near his home or his mother's home. Also, may I add, Elizabeth Stride and Catherine Eddowes were both murdered in the same night that Charles had his first night off from work in months. That very night of the double kill. Was Charles Allen Jack the Ripper? Does he come across like a Jack? No, he's covering his tracks. Fake name. That's all I'm going to say. Fake name, and he knew the roots. And he had a night off when they both died.
Yeah, but that's like...
It could be one of them dippy killers.
It's not that. It's...
I want to know what this chap looks like. I want to know if he's...
dappy killers.
Maybe he's got them dippy dappy shoes.
Dippy dappy shoes. No, it's like going, oh yeah, everyone in the Whitechapel area in a mile radius from outside it is the killer whoever has time off with those killers.
But that is a bit weird.
It's very weird, but then in my head it's like it's too circumstantial.
Okay. You got to admit though, so far all of the people we've put forward,
I do not believe in coincidences, and there's too many in there to.
But he's a meat cart driver.
Yeah.
He's taking the meat. Butchercraft.
Yeah, he must be.
Yeah, he's taking the organs out and he's selling them off. He's probably
going to make pies. Yeah, wouldn't surprise me.
Do we need to go into London's history at this point?
That's very true.
You probably knew Sweeney Todd.
Yes. I've got something for you, Gov. Look. Make 3 pies out of that. Come on. Keep you wealthy, you would.
But alright,
to me, it's
it's too obvious, right?
Yeah,
because he's a meat cart driver.
You've got
he knows the routes.
Butcher, the blood. Yeah.
At this point, I think the police are pointing fingers at everyone.
It
looks a bit weird.
Right, who's in the meat carving press? Like, right, who's a butcher? Who's a driver?
It's all of you.
It's all of you. It's one of you.
That's what I was like writing this. I was like, it's one of them.
It's like line them all up, shoot them all.
You get your fucking baton out in a minute and be like, it was you. No, it went.
Hello. What have we got here then?
A heart, Gov.
Oh, fuck it.
I'll eat that later.
Yeah.
Right. A nest. That's a good show. A nest.
A nest. Nice.
No, couldn't think of another.
No.
The only thing I got was a nest full of worms. David Cohen. I think that's his name, or Cohen, whatever his name is.
Cohen.
I don't know. People back then have weird names, apart from Charles Allen. Even Charles Cross sounds good. Maybe that was his. Maybe that was his other name. Maybe he was Irish. I've got two names. Okay, so David Cohen aroused suspicion for months with the London Metropolitan Police. His regular displays of violence towards prostitution women, but also his very own step forward into putting himself into a lunatic asylum, claiming it was basically him. It's not really substantial, but he's a name that kind of goes under the radar a bit.
Yeah.
He's kind of that person like, oh yeah, I beat up prostitutes. Would you do anything more? I'm going to asylums. It's like, his name just slips under, and it slips under too frequently for me. I'm like, okay, maybe.
There may be something more about him that we don't know.
Ah, that's your favourite one. I could tell I was late. Look. Right, so this is the one you believe.
This is the one that I would most believe.
Okay, so don't forget to drop a comment below to basically say, hey, look.
How wrong I was.
Yeah, please.
No, but this is the one that I feel that...
This side of the team, right, I would like to say, this side of the team have proven you wrong every instance. Stay on track with me. I'll take you to heaven and then drop you off in hell. Right, so... You thought I introduced them to the... Fuck you. With a Pringle toy. No, you Pringle. No, I'm not doing it. I'm not reading this out, it don't count. Alright, it does. So, are we looking into royalty with the suspects now? So, the growing power of suspicion is a clear one. Secret organisation and links to the police began to, take place. Yeah. Jack the Ripper. A powerful member of the royal family? This is what you think. Queen Victoria's grandson has always been a suspect. And shouldn't we suspect everyone at this point? We shouldn't rule out the royal family. We should bring them in, right? So I'm going to bring him in. The prince was diagnosed with syphilis, which was kept a secret. Now, if you know what syphilis does, it actually drives you insane. It drives you to a lot of psychosis, and you have mental issues and everything else. So, the reason for this possible suspect of this chap. I mean, it wasn't necessarily him that done it, but I'm looking at more of you know, the members of his family that may have done it. Does this make sense now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is where I'm kind of like, okay. So either he had syphilis and he killed him, and they covered it up, which would make sense because he's royal family and you know.
No, it wouldn't be the first time.
Right. Please, you're going to get us in trouble.
No.
Or there is information that you can find that the prince fell in love and had a child with an alleged prostitute. Facing scandal, the couple decided to split. The monarchy didn't want any of this getting out anywhere because it would look really bad for someone in the royal family to have a child with someone of that caliber at that time. Yeah? It's like, oh yeah, you're royalty. So when you do find someone and you have babies, make sure they come from a certain type of background.
A certain kind of breed.
Yeah, blue blood.
Yes. Blue blood. We've all got blue blood before it cut the vein and now it's red.
Okay. Right. So allegedly, he had sex with a prostitute, they had a child, they didn't want it getting out, they went their separate ways to protect her, but the monarchy obviously took over this, right?
I bet she disappeared. Bet she vanished.
I don't know, I didn't look into that. I looked into the theory of possibly the monarchy.
Probably by Mary Jane, probably mutilated. Off with his head.
I'm not doing it. I'm not doing this anymore.
No, I'm sorry. I'll stop messing around.
Off with his head. Off with her head, not sounds it. It was that close. Is it possible?
That was also in the fairy tale.
Yeah, I know. Is it possible? Fuck you, dickhead. Fuck you, dickhead. I hate you. I hate you.
Go right ahead.
Go right ahead. You bastard. I'll just cut to the chase. Is it possible the monarchy decided to eliminate all 5 bridesmaids of Anne Cook who had a child with the prince? And the bridesmaids were?
The ones that we know.
Exactly. The
5.
The famous 5. So do you reckon?
To me, that's plausible.
Okay. So either way, there is links to the Freemasons in this, the cult, as we love cults.
Oh yes.
And power, let alone the cloak and dagger attacks of each woman. How it was so easily covered up. Right? I like that name, cloak and dagger. I decided to throw it in there. I thought it would be.
And how, like, not necessarily.
It wasn't a pun.
No,
Jack the Ripper had a cloak and he killed him with a knife, e.g. dagger. It wasn't a pun. I just wanted to use the word cloak and dagger and I thought it fitted very well.
Yeah.
So, cloak and dagger attacks on each woman was a reason for the organ removal. More than sadistic, was it a ritual by a higher power, explaining why the removal took place to send a message. Do you reckon? What do you think so far? Who would be your main suspect right now? Is it someone
Royal.
possibly... It's always going to be the royal with you.
So far, it is the royal. There's aspects that would work.
Okay.
There's a very high possibility that is him. To this day. Just saying.
Fucking hate you. You know, I wish I didn't write so much about this bit now. I wish I just cut this bit off and just been, oh, it could have been him.
I would have said it.
Right. Now we're getting back into the scientific part of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Or-
I've had my rant.
Yeah. Well, of course, was it someone from the medical field? Like you say, it could have been. It could have been anyone.
I know, that's
Right.
what I mean. I'm going to say it could have been a lot.
Back to the call, right?
Yeah.
The underworld of London, the popular medical devils, should we say, that could weave in and out across London. No one would care, and no eyes would be on them. So just keep this one in mind, because no one would really care.
No, that's true.
Right?
It's the organ black market.
Exactly. Doctors, nurses were a strong theory that Dr. D. Stephenson contacted the deadly disease from a prostitute. He also was a Satanist. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And conducted magic. Had a real personal hate for prostitutes, allegedly praised to be the Ripper. He praised himself on being the Ripper. Right? But when it actually came to finding Dr. D. Stephenson, he'd vanished. So, he's a magician, and he disappears when the police suspect him after he's like, yeah, I am Jack the Ripper, I will now... Go. And no one fucking finds him anymore.
How convenient.
He's a good magician.
He's a very good magician.
He's a good magician, no one's found him.
Sold out around the world. Where is he? That's his trick.
It kind of makes me wonder, did he do all this in terms of the fact that he was actually, you know, he was in the medical field. He knew how to do organs and shit. It kind of makes you think, like, did he just be like, hey, I've got a magic trick? And they're like, oh. And because he's high up in money, medical field, he's got the money.
Yeah.
They're going to go to him and be like, oh, okay, what can you show me then? He's like, take a look. You just don't know.
You don't know.
And for someone to walk into the fucking Met Police area and go, I'm Jack the Ripper, and they're like, no you're not. And he's like, I am. And then he vanishes. And he's a magician. When's he coming back? When's the trick over?
He went to Yorkshire.
Do you ever remember?
About 100 years later.
Do you remember?
Come back like.
Do you remember?
Oh, missed.
Right, anyone old enough will remember this. Like, I don't know how old people are that watch this, but do you remember where it said Magicians Uncovered, that show?
Yeah.
And it would show you how they did the magic tricks. Yeah,
the mask of
the stupid mask, right? Wouldn't it be funny if you took it off and went, and I'm Jack the Ripper? I'll be like, fuck off. Like, I knew it.
Called it.
That's why the show cancelled.
It wasn't that the magic circle got involved. It wasn't nothing to do. He disappeared again.
It doesn't make sense. You walk into the police station and say, I'm Jack the Ripper. They say, no, you're not. He's like, I am. And then he vanishes and never appears. And he's a magician. And he's a doctor.
Wouldn't you wish for CCTV there? This is it. I am. Maybe he combusted.
No.
No.
Right. Our next suspect. I love how I wrote this one down. I thought, the American Quack Doctor.
This is that was a common phrase back then. Like,
yeah,
you went to the doctor, you went to the quack. Like, it's.
You will. Yeah. Go to the quacks. I ain't playing around with them ducks no more.
I went to the pond last week. Didn't help me a thing.
That's why I got a sore
It's
throat.
glowing.
That's why I got a sore throat. Saying that, I've given birth to 6 frogs this week. Stop swallowing frog spawn. My frog. But the American Quack Doctor, you're gonna love his last name. I don't want to say it. Franz Tumblety.
What was that?
Yeah, you can read it for yourself. Franz Tumblety.
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 Oh, you're the American Quack Doctor. What's his name?
Tumblety.
Off with his head. Where'd that magician go?
He disappeared, sir.
He was a main suspect. He was a misogynist and liked collecting body parts.
Okay.
Okay, so he's a bit on the... It's like me and taxidermy. He's like, oh, that's good.
A lot of scientists, though, like, you know...
Yeah. I think the main reason they called him a quack doctor was because, like I said, he collected body parts. The police classed him as unstable, but he kept his job.
I don't think you should be in this medical position.
Fuck
Cough.
Fucking hate this job. It's meant to be a serious case.
I'll get the doctor. Cough.
Rainbow. You need to see a fucking doctor.
You need to see a quack.
Right, so he collected body parts.
Yep.
He was classed as unstable, but still led to be a doctor. He was very eccentric.
Did he end up in an asylum?
No.
Fucking hell. What? They sent the normal ones Like, yeah, alright.
They said
He's a bit deranged.
No,
Go to the asylum.
understand this.
You're
They-
fucking mental. Go back
Understand
to
this.
work.
Understand this. They send the butcher to the asylum, but him,
Going back to work.
the guy that was eccentric like myself. I mean, when I wrote this down, I was thinking, shall I just write about me? Right. He collects body parts. They classed him as unstable and eccentric, with many reports stating his practices was rather unordinary, and he doesn't go to the asylum. He continues to work. But this ain't the best bit. He would check people over randomly in the streets day and night, whether they were ill or not.
And when they walked away,
Did they walk away?
did they walk away? Excuse me, sir. We've got the time. Cough. What?
Do you have the time?
Yeah, certainly.
Okay. Show me.
Yes.
What's wrong with Brian? There's something seriously wrong with Brian.
Why? What's wrong with it?
I don't know yet. There's something wrong with it.
Where's me watch gone? Always needed that timepiece.
Can you imagine going home and he's got a wife and they're like, how's work? Fucking great. Look at all this
Awesome.
shit.
Look, I got a free gift from a customer.
You don't know it yet.
Yeah.
He's gonna die tomorrow. Where's me knife? Where's that magician? He ain't come back since I touched him. Fucking hell, I just don't get this. Why don't I write this down?
Yeah, but
Why
they
is
sent the normal one instead of fucking thing.
No,
they
he's-
sent the
no
quack back.
quack back?
Quack back. That was weird.
They sent the quack back. You wait till we get to the bottom bit. We can remember that. Now, back to seriousness. Now, the most famous theory of mine, and many others.
That's much famous of mine.
I won't go to say like the most famous theory among the internet. I just say it's of mine. Is that of a midwife? Right. I recently learned. I did learn this. I didn't know this at all, and he's only just learned it today.
Yeah.
I recently learned that a woman, midwife allegedly, left Mary Jane Kelly's residence. Then hours later, the body was found. Right. Could it have been a secret lover that she kept away from you know who? Right.
She had many guests
Was it a man possibly wearing women's clothing?
to disguise who
He was.
Yeah.
Like I said, they could weave in and out. Midwives, doctors. It would
Yeah,
make sense.
no, yeah, that's true.
Right. Or was it actually Mary Jane Kelly herself? Could it have been that Mary Jane Kelly was Jack the Ripper or Jill the Ripper? I'm just throwing this one at you. She knew the women, they hung around each other,
Yeah.
and to make it not her, she would kill a woman that bad to make everyone think it was her and put her in her own clothes in her bed.
Yeah, and the boyfriend slash
He would take the
husband,
fall
he
for
would
it.
take the fall for it because
I'm just throwing this one out there right now. Was Mary Jane Kelly that stable? Is this why we have no records of this woman? I told you, mate, she's a fascinating piece of art. Oh, did she fake her own
don't
death?
you mean heart?
Do you reckon she faked her own death? Knowing...
It's plausible.
Right, did she fake her death knowing that she would possibly be next? Was she given a heads up by someone? So the best way to do it is coax a woman that you know, that you work with on the streets, kill her off, put her in your clothes, and make her that disfigured everyone thinks it's you, and then leave. I'm not being funny. Nowadays, if someone was going to fucking kill me, I'd dress you up in my clothes. Imagine how tight my t-shirts would be.
Yeah, Dad wouldn't fall for that.
No. But no, if back then, they're all pretty
Back
much
then,
very
yeah.
similar.
Oh yeah,
That's what I mean.
they would be dressed similar.
All
and
she
have
had
the
to
same
do-
sort of features.
All she had to do was literally find a reddish style haired woman, possibly. Right.
Yeah, because she was Irish, wasn't she?
Yeah.
Mary Jane Kelly.
Yeah. And like I said, how can you even be sure it was Mary Jane Kelly? Because the face, DNA wasn't great and on par. They just looked at the body and said, they looked at the body and went, yeah, that's Mary Jane Kelly. And
it's in a room, it's in a house, like, it's in her clothes.
Hey, guess what? Guess what? No one's thought about this process yet. We win! No, it wasn't. It's there.
It's there. It's out there.
Right, okay, so just clarify. Just because we're intelligent today to avoid being hurt and killed doesn't mean they weren't that intelligent back then. They could have done it.
Yeah.
It's plausible.
It is plausible.
Or... You like this one, don't you?
I do like this one.
Are you sure you like it?
I like it, but then I don't like it because that's my theory right now.
Or was it the famous author of Alice in Wonderland, Lewis Carroll? In 1996, author Richard Wallace suggested this, but why? The basis is that every book Lewis Carroll released left countless anagrams in his novels confessing to a killing spree that he may or may not have done or planned to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
He also was always with women younger, older, or much younger.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The poem Jabberwocky, I fucking hate you, written in 1872, one verse says, "The vorpal blade went snicker snack."
What was that?
I don't know what we're doing again. He left it dead and with its head. This refers to Anne Chapman.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The girls all had soaps, thimbles and forks on them when they died. Lewis Carroll mentions glimpses of this with the poem The Hunting of the Shark.
Mm-hmm.
Now how did Lewis know even, what these women had on them at the time of their death? Without being there.
Mm-hmm.
Also, every night of the death, Lewis had no alibi for his whereabouts.
And this is why I hate this one.
And wasn't at home. Could it be the famous author is actually Jack the Ripper? Because you wouldn't know that these women had thimbles, forks and soaps on them. And like I said to you previously, you're not going to know unless you are carting the body and you remove the items of clothing and you go through their personal belongings. How can an author have access to that? How did he know? And like what we stated, the killings took place in 1888, right? His books were released previously to this.
10 years.
Was he planning what he would eventually do with these anagrams and stuff?
Hence why.
But what would his
make the joke off with his head? In Alice in Wonderland with the Queen. That's why he gets Alice to paint the white roses red, because it's not due to the playing card that everyone looks at. It's more of a darker history. Maybe he knows something.
How would
about the royals?
No, but okay, so
or like take the royal out of the equation. Going back to just what obviously has been said.
Yep.
Maybe it is that he would have been, or could have been.
Like I said,
planning or.
Like I said to you, I am a planner and a doer, right? If I'm planning something this important, or this groundbreaking, or this shocking, like what I said to you, stalkers
don't do your research.
Stalkers do not just. How can I put it? Stalkers do not just see one person one day and go, "Yep, I'm going to kill him today." They will stalk that person and plan it thoroughly.
They would know the route. They would know.
Yeah. So is it possible he was letting out his darker thoughts through writing, which many people do, including myself, and then later,
hidden meanings.
Later, capitalise on his darker thoughts? He was always around women. This is the other weird thing in my head. Now, if you know anything about the author of Alice in Wonderland, he was a photographer. He would photograph girls, young children naked, and get away with it. He wasn't necessarily a pedophile, but he kept these images. Yeah. But he was a really good photographer. Like back then, it's not really seen as pedophilia.
Yeah, it wasn't.
I mean, not being
It wasn't
funny.
so much frowned upon back then if a professional.
I know we're going slightly off track, but I'm sure your parents took pictures of you naked as a child, baby.
No, yeah. Like if I'd done something silly or
Exactly.
quite very hilarious,
Exactly.
they would.
But bear in mind, you know,
for the wedding. You know, oh great.
But bear in mind, the author would always have their parents with the children while he's photographing them. It wasn't.
Yeah.
Whether his intentions after what he did with the pictures is uncertain. But going back off track, like, is it plausible that the author may have planned out what he was going to do?
It is plausible.
But to me, it kind of doesn't add up with the thimbles, the soap, and the forks. I mean, you are at a time in London where women of that era, they would go out on a night.
Yeah.
They would carry a fork just in case they would get enough money to have something to eat. They would carry soap so they could wash themselves down after.
Yeah.
You know, the
cleanliness.
You know, just to
Yeah.
try and get rid of the syphilis, but it still belongs. And a thimble back then is worth money, a lot of money.
As I said, it could be a gift,
But
why would it be with all of them?
Like what I mentioned, they were seamstresses. They did do jobs in warehouses.
Yeah, no, you would.
But for him to know that,
it's weird. It's weird. Like it's.
what do you think? What do you really think
weird.
right now? These are possibly the most plausible, the most pinpointed things. Now, like I said, just because something happened in a time or era like that does not mean it's not possible because we can get away with it today. Like we could wear,
that's true.
we could wear clothing and disguise yourself as a woman or myself as a woman. We could get away with it, and that doesn't mean people wouldn't think about doing so back then.
No.
I mean, even if you were to, you know, what did I say? So a woman was seen leaving Mary Jane Kelly's bedroom and the house, right?
Or a person in women's clothing.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been a man.
It could have been.
And he thinks, okay, well, I'm going to quickly put my hood up, wear a dress, and just walk past everyone. The one thing I will take away from this is the fact that even in today's day and age, you could walk past someone and they could kill you. They could kill you. And obviously, with current events lately, with women being on guard, like, even for guys as well, it's another thing that we look at and we see today that we're like, wow, okay. So even though stuff like this happened back then, they were possibly walking past thieves, murderers every day. You wouldn't know.
Pickpockets, everything.
You wouldn't know.
You wouldn't know.
And this is the most puzzling part of this, is the fact that you still don't know. But everyone...
It's the most agitating part of this.
But like I said, it's not about justice now. It's now who can solve the Jack the Ripper case first.
Yeah.
And I don't care what anyone throws at you, there is no real evidence that it's that person. Even though I've given you some really good ideas.
Yeah, like as I said, I'm. I feel the royals are plausible because they're a higher status. They can, you know, back then.
Okay.
Or no,
I'll quickly say this to you, right?
Secret societies, secret police.
Okay. Right. I'll say this to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have your royals because of their background and their power, right? I will also say it was just a regular person because they could get away with it back then. You don't need money and power to back your actions.
True. Very true. But I'm just...
I mean, amongst...
I suppose I'm taking one aspect.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of have to think that you are in the worst crime-ridden place.
Yeah, it doesn't matter who you are, you're
going to get fucked.
Yeah.
And no matter how many theories we can go over, I mean, I'm pretty sure we'll probably do another video, like in probably 5 years of time, where a bit more evidence has come forward. But to me, it's like, Jack the Ripper could have been anyone. And despite
male,
each
female,
suspect...
old, young.
Wouldn't it be weird if you found out it was a child? It was a 5-year-old who liked playing with knives. And everyone's like, oh shit, he's still alive today. They're like, yeah, he's like 104, isn't it? No, but like, it could have been. It could have been a 10-year-old.
Yeah, it's
You got to think, in my head, you got to think, were these women stalked and preyed upon? Were they random targets? Did they really know each other? And who would fit the bill more? I mean, at this point, you're in London, you're in the worst crime-ridden place.
well, for one, why would an author be in the worst place possible?
You're now thinking that.
Like,
Why would
why would an author be, like, again, author, like, it's a high value job.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're producing books, you're producing literature. Why would you go to the darkest part of the town?
If I was a famous author, right, and I had money, maybe I would simply go somewhere to spend it and mix in with that type of people, because I didn't like the people that I was having to associate myself around. From my point of view, I would still keep the friends I had before I was famous. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's fine.
Right, but then I'd also think, oh, hang on, I'd go to Whitechapel, London area, because that's where the atmosphere is.
That's when everyone is. Yeah.
And if I really wanted to, I could throw a couple of shillings out and get a blowy. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
If he really wanted, he's got the money, he could coax them in, kill them off, and then write about Alice in Wonderland. Or he's already written more Alice in Wonderland, you just don't know.
It definitely throws a spanner.
I know you're so set on the royal family in terms of this,
It
right?
fitted.
Yeah.
It fitted before Carol.
And before the others even.
And before the others even. It fitted.
Yeah.
It was over the last video that we did on Jack the Ripper. Out of the suspects that we brought out from them, it was a royal or
I see. See, the way we've obviously portrayed it in the first one, we've literally said to you guys and our own theories and opinions on it. It like, to me, it was a midwife, right? But then finding out these little bits about Mary Jane Kelly's death, the fact she doesn't actually have proper records.
No. Or how would they even be dismissed? Like, you would have medical records, you would have something.
And also, I'm really sorry for people that are probably going to correct me. One of these women, I think it was Elizabeth Stride, she is foreign, or one of them is foreign, like not from, she's not born and bred in London or England, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think
it was Elizabeth. I think it was Elizabeth Stride, and she has records, and she's foreign.
She has the, I think it's the immigration thing. I'm
yeah, but either way,
sure
what I'm trying to get at is Mary Jane Kelly has no record, but a foreign person does in that time frame, in that era.
Well, saying that, like, a lot of Irish immigrants, I would say immigrants at that time, a lot of Irish men and women were coming over to find work.
Yeah.
It didn't, and because they were in the sovereign state, like England and Ireland, they were coming over because it was more, I would say, richer maybe.
Yeah, I'm fully with you.
Yeah. And they would come over, find work, it didn't matter who you were, you could give X name, it doesn't care, as long as you've done the work, you get paid, you go home.
But still.
But yeah, but there's not necessarily thing, but let alone if they've gone, say that they went over to Ireland, and she's used a different name. Because obviously Kelly is, I think, a county in Ireland. I think it is, or thing.
Do you reckon there could be
maybe it's an anagram of her original name? Nothing seems to
just writ her name out, and I'm looking at it like more and more. I'm really suspect on her.
Mm. Because it's double barrel, isn't it? Mary Jane.
Mm-hmm. I am suspect on this woman. Right, think back. No real official DNA, right?
No
record, right?
She is basically
A
the
ghost.
first Jane Doe.
She's a no, she ain't the first.
No, but you know what I mean.
She is literally going unheard of.
She's a Jane Doe.
This is the only time you're going to be right about something, but she's officially going as a ghost. And that is pretty much how these women are now remembered as ghosts. Kind of scary to think about, isn't it? Despite these women having proper lives.
I've just seen something as well.
Yeah.
So, Elizabeth Stride and Catherine Eddowes.
Yeah.
That's the double murder.
Mm-hmm.
September the 30th.
Mm-hmm.
A month and 10 days later. Mary Jane Kelly. All of the rest, August, September. Why take a month off?
Because that's when he came back from his magic trick.
I knew you was going to say that. As soon as you said I was like, whoa, that's when he reappeared.
Yeah, that's when he did the disappearing act, and then he came back and thought, no, they will believe
This
me.
is the wrong time, Mike. No, but
There is a month gap.
A month gap. Like,
A
yeah,
month?
okay,
Right.
we went
No,
over
wait.
that he got
No, wait, think about it.
disturbed on that.
Right, say they are all friends, right?
Mm-hmm.
Say she goes. She's sat there on her own now, going, oh shit, I could be next. How do I fake my own death, and who's going to help me? I need to plan it. I mean, theoretically, she could be well in there with police officials at this point, because all her friends have been killed. Oh, I know how you do it. You fake your own death. We're going to put a dead body in here, take the organs out, you leave. It's weird that there's a whole month gap now. She's planned something.
Or she is
The killer.
the Ripper. And she's like,
You're gonna
there's
go.
too many people.
You're gonna go to bed now, aren't you? You're gonna go to bed like.
I know, I can't sleep. I need to search.
I need you to read me that bit again.
I need to do research.
You do.
Ancestry, here I come. No, but it's... So, looking at that, right? No, just say that. So, she's under the microscope.
I'm gonna borrow one.
Yeah, it's fine.
Go.
It's fine. So that she's under the microscope. So, the police officials have been going through all of these murders.
Yeah.
And the only name that rings out, or the only person that all of these have in common, is her. They turn up at the door a month later after doing all the investigations, find her mutilated corpse, and obviously the witness statements. They've seen a woman.
I will say this.
Whatever in lady's dress.
I'll say this now. I haven't come across a theory where people think it was Mary Jane Kelly, and then she faked her own death after killing possibly her friends, or the fact that she was next on the victims list. I have never come across it, despite the amount of research I've come across. I have never come across with the fact that it could be her, or she faked her death. I've never come across that.
That is two theories, my friend.
That no one has managed
No
to come
one
up.
has come across. That's hard to judge.
It is. And it's really difficult because, like I said, there was no DNA, real DNA, to say it was her, apart from her clothes.
No.
Which, may I add, which I added in the last one, were neatly folded up.
Why would you?
Which was a woman. A man would never fold up his fucking clothes.
And that's not being sexist, that's true.
All my clothes are just...
I do not fold up my clothes whatsoever.
A man wouldn't fold up his own clothes.
No.
And she could have just took some money and left and faked her death. Or she was the killer and she
needed to vanish.
And you like your queen theory.
I did. And then I looked.
No, right.
I don't know why I didn't see that in the first one.
When we did our first one, yeah. So basically what I'm trying to get at is the fact that obviously
there's two possibilities.
There's loads.
There's loads, but the two that I'm most intrigued with.
The only reason I rule out your one is simply because, right, even though there has been conspiracies against the royal family, there has been this, that and the other, right?
You don't need money back then.
No. The only reason I rule it out is because there's never been hard evidence pressed against them, right?
Why would they?
No. No, you're saying why would they? It doesn't matter who you are. If you've done a crime and people know about it and the evidence is there in front of you, you're going down for it. No, you can say this, right? But the amount of famous people that have been caught for kiddie fiddling and no one gave a shit. The Queen's pretty much on her deathbed now, so if she decided to kill anyone, they'd be like, "Oh, we're taking you in." No, they would. I will say this.
Very much doubt it.
It doesn't matter whether you're Queen or anything. Whether you're royal family, whether you're the monarchy, you will go down for shit. It doesn't matter how much you pay. There's going to be someone out there with a clear conscience that goes, "No, what you've done is wrong."
Not obviously back then. That's 100 years ago.
There's got to be.
Times have changed back then, mate.
There's got to be.
It was a sovereign state back then.
There's got to be someone out there with a clear conscience that'd be like, "No, I'm not going to take."
I know I did it.
Yeah, there's got to be.
Number 12.
I am not. No. And the only
I will clearly say
everyone says the royal family are up to shit, right? And they've always been up to shit, right? They might be up to shit, but to kill 4 women that mean nothing to them. And I'll say this now: this is the only piece of evidence I've got. The Queen and the royal family don't give a shit about the people of this country.
that is true.
And if they did give a shit, things would have changed. And it's like people saying, "Well, why don't you believe in God?" And I'm like, "Well, no one's set free yet. That's why."
True.
And I'm like, well, if the Queen cared, she would change things. This is my theory. So what are 4 or 5 fucking prostitutes really going to cause a problem? Even if one of them came forward and went, "Oh yeah, your grandson fucked my prostitute daughter and now we've got 6 kids. The Queen's going to be like, "No, he didn't." And they'd deny it. They wouldn't go to that extent to eliminate 5 people. They'd just be like, "No, you're talking shit. You know it too."
It sounds good.
You know that too as well.
No,
you
that's
know.
true.
5 people that aren't even a dot on a radar, and the Queen or the whole royal family are going to go, "Kill them. No one will care." Yeah.
All within that 1 square mile of a certain
I would like to say.
person's house. Kill that one, that
Right,
one, that
so
one.
clarify. What is your theory now? What are you believing? Think about it. You're in a crime-ridden area. It could be anyone. But for you to think the Queen will give a shit about 5
Not
slags.
necessarily the Queen.
No, but I'm just saying.
She's not going to be like, "I take offence to that."
No.
What is it?
What I'm getting at is
Right now, she's a spy.
What I'm getting at is they would
Yeah.
do a public hanging. They would accuse them of something and take pleasure in doing so. They wouldn't do it.
But it's an
with a-
atrocity.
They wouldn't do it in a
The
cloak and
grandson-
dagger format.
We've done video on Diana and you're arguing about cloak and dagger.
My Diana theory was simple. She was a target because she was seeing someone else and they didn't want her involved because she was already involved. These women are not involved with the
How do
royal.
we know? How do we know?
Because the records state they're not.
Oh, the record's governed by the country. And who runs the country?
I will.
And not the Prime Minister.
Right, I know this is
Wait,
getting into
go
the
on.
biggest debate you'll ever see. Do you really think If one of them was an auntie and uncle or whatever the fuck they were related to the Queen, they'd be in poverty. Do you think they'd be raised in poverty?
I didn't say
No.
that they were related.
No.
I said that they were involved with one of royals.
And do you think they'd let them stay in poverty? No.
It's an atrocious. It's
No, they wouldn't. They'd be like, oh, okay, we're
it's
going to
an
give you...
abomination.
They would...
Ruining the bloodline.
They would simply go, okay, we're going to give you a fake name and dress you up smart and go have a bath.
Yeah, let's kill all of your friends, your family.
No family got killed. It was only the women.
Who knows? Alright, fine. We'll kill all your friends who you hang around with.
The bridesmaids that you seem to claim.
We'll kill yourself.
Just in case anything leaks out, we'll get rid of you
We'll
too.
give you a new name, a new identity, and ship you off to another country.
And you think they
Probably America, I'm not gonna lie.
And you think they wouldn't take that child and somehow stage it as though someone else got pregnant? They would leave that child, a child that they wouldn't even know. You reckon they would just leave that child?
They would ship it off to another country, mate. I tell you.
They wouldn't.
They would.
They wouldn't.
They would.
They
They're
wouldn't.
dodgy.
They wouldn't. They would take that child and give it a fake name and a fake upbringing, and it would know nothing about its mother. Or it would have a fake mother.
Exactly. No one's gonna know because they don't know.
You still got to stick to your queen.
Look, until I looked at
Your monarchy.
Mary Jane Kelly again, I was all set for that.
Mm.
But I threw myself a curveball, and
So, out of all the suspects, who do you think? Do you think it was the famous author of Alice in Wonderland? Planning what he will do? Don't say it's too bait. It ain't bait at all. No one is likely to look at that without... Why would that all of a sudden raise suspicion anyway? Why would you look at an author and go, oh, it was
Yeah,
you?
but why would you admit it?
He hasn't.
No. Why would you?
He didn't admit nothing.
It just seems too planned. Like they've taken what he's written.
Just because someone planned something, or maybe it looks like it's planned, doesn't mean they didn't follow through. Guy Fawkes clearly followed through.
Yeah, but we all know the end of that story.
And I was well behind Guy Fawkes.
Well, obviously not. You're defending the fuckers.
No, I'm defending Guy Fawkes. His plan was real. I loved his plan. I would fully support his plan if he did it today. That will probably get me shot.
Oh, and this wouldn't. No, like I would fully admit that the Royals really put me on a dead set. But looking at the Mary Jane Kelly.
Go on. Stroke my ego, go on. Stroke it. Tell me I'm a mastermind. Bow down to me. I am your king.
It does fit that she could have faked her own death. Now, for what purpose? I'm not saying which, because I haven't fully supported it.
Okay.
But I would, my microscope would be now over Mary Jane Kelly, if that's the real name.
But do you still think it could be plausible that it could have been one of the gentlemen I said?
It could be plausible that it could be the author that has planned it out and followed through with it.
Or it could have been that meat cart driver.
That's just pointing fingers because he's in the industry.
No, they pointed the finger because his work would be... Wait, listen. His work was at night, right? All the women died at night, right?
Yes.
But the double killing happened when he had a day off, so he didn't need to rush his killing.
Okay.
He could have known Mary Jane Kelly.
But the double killing was interrupted and the police stated it was interrupted.
And he could have just got back in his fucking meat wagon and went to work.
He had a day off?
The next day. Night time. Early morning now.
Mm.
Could have been his scarf. He made a lot of money. He knew the routes. He knew what to take. And if he wanted the organs, he could get a bit more money from selling human organs. It's very much similar to a pig.
true. But that's like going, a clown has got green hair, white face, a red nose, and that just so happens to be the colour of their fucking clothes that they're wearing on the day. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Like, they all live... It's like going, everyone that works on a night shift in Whitechapel is a suspect because they work at night. It's taking little bits out of every murder and going, okay, right, so it could be someone in a medical position. It could be someone in the meat position. It could be a night worker. It could be... It happened at night. It happened early hours in the morning. Like, it's going, okay... rounding 10 people up, and they've all got different kind of jobs.
Okay, right.
Within the same one aspect.
Right. Say you're in the meat industry.
Mm-hmm.
Say you're this guy that's driving his meat cart, depositing meat to different butchers and so on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just think about this for a second. Okay. Say you're down on your luck.
Right.
There's people out there that have had jobs where they provide a public service, like a milkman or a postman or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they do these routes for so long, and they are mentally unstable, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they'll see someone for so long, and it's not unheard of that these people that are mentally unstable will target people on routes that they know, or that they see them on regularly.
Mm-hmm. No, that's true. Then
Is it possible that this man, who gave a fake name for whatever reason, was he just a dip? Or did he give a fake name simply because he was doing it and was happily doing it and getting away with it? He had the finger pointed at him.
But then wouldn't you think that if you'd had the finger pointed at you, you would stop?
He only became a suspect because he gave a fake name, and he knew the routes, and he was taken in, and they questioned him, and he still walked out. But the only reason I seem to think this guy is kind of plausible.
Yeah, but you think if you're down on your luck, you would take the thimble, you'd take the silver, you'd sell it.
No, you wouldn't, because people would be like, well, where did you get that from? If he's carrying around a fucking organ and he's a meat carrier, it's not going to look so fucking sus, is it? Oh, where'd you get all this silver from? Oh, well, look at your thimble, look. Where'd you get that? You don't earn enough. Oh no, but I've got a couple of hearts and a kidney and a uterus. Oh, we can take that, grind it up, it's fine. Not being funny, you'd get noticed for carrying around money if you're in a shit job. It's like me being in a shit job driving a Ferrari. What do you do? Nothing. Where'd you get that from? Not telling you. It's really like, oh, okay.
Yeah, what's your name? Cross.
Exactly, like you're like, carrying around that much to try and pawn it or sell it when you can just sell organs from human beings. It's not unheard of.
No,
it happened in fucking India. They fucking cut tourists open and sell their organs.
Or it goes back into the organ black market.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, it's not. It's not.
You can make a bit
not
more money. No, I'm just saying you can make a bit more money. This is why the organs were removed from these women.
True. But it's just.
It's literally like saying, oh yeah, he cut them in a certain way. He's a butcher.
Exactly.
Yeah, but there's nothing else to that.
Exactly.
Whereas this kind of goes, okay, you're in a shit job. You need a bit more money. What are you going to do? Kill people you see at night time.
Yeah, but wouldn't you take the lot? You wouldn't just take
you don't have time to take the lot.
Yeah, but you wouldn't just medically remove one kidney.
Maybe you just needed one.
Yeah. How many pies do you want to make? 2. Right, what are we having? Steak and kidney. Right, I'll get 1 kidney from that woman down the road. You get the steak from the pie maker up the road. It doesn't work. Why would you take 1?
He didn't have
If
enough
you
time to
need
get the
money,
other.
Then you would take the whole lot.
That's why he did double work on Mary Jane Kelly.
Yeah, fuck it, I'll take a lot of this one.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm in a gold mine, mate. Like,
Exactly.
it's no. To me, no. You would take more.
No,
And
because
you
you're out on the
wouldn't- you wouldn't
streets, you're
just
going to
cut
get
half
fucking
of-
interrupted.
You wouldn't just cut someone's throat and then go, I could make money, but...
No, he only cut the throat because he got disturbed. And then he killed someone else in the next street, man.
Yeah.
But the person that he did...
That's of the double killer.
Yeah, that was his night off.
Exactly.
But he got disturbed. He would have took a bit. Like he took a little bit of the others.
I'll get some of them later. Oh, that's going to be nice in my
But
supper.
coincidentally, right, the only thing that doesn't really... You're going to laugh about this. But he left...
He doesn't have a mother.
He left... Right, they would have their breast cut. Whether he thought, oh, I can make a bit of meat off of this, because all it is fat and muscle tissue, right?
Yeah, fat, gristle, muscle, like just blood vessels.
Yeah, right. Maybe he looked at it and went, oh, I cut this off because it's shit, that's not going to get me nothing. But I'll take it anyway.
I just tuck that under her head.
Yeah, exactly. I just... Do you see what I mean? He might have been like... He might have been a bit special.
Nope. You got it's no. No.
Why?
It's just no. Right. So with Mary Jane Kelly, he left all the organs. Is like and just just have the art on this one.
That's what I mean. He took the most expensive thing that you would get from an animal, surely.
The most expensive thing from an animal is its meat, mate.
Yeah, but he stripped her. Maybe she was really skinny. Maybe he just went,
Oh, is that it?
Yeah, he's like,
oh, take your art.
You can keep your breast.
And your uterus and your lungs and your kidneys and everything.
No, it was just kidneys, uterus, and her breast was placed under her arm.
Yeah.
Right.
Under her head, and then the rest of the organs were on the side table.
Maybe the author took a picture of this thinking it was artistic. How do we want a woman to lay? Oh, look, it's new.
Sleeping Beauty, there's me new book. No.
No? Not going with that one?
No.
Well, I don't know what else to give you.
Right, I got a good one, mate. I've taken her up, but you can have the rest. Okay, I'll be there soon. She got a thimble in her pocket. I like that. Better clean her up a bit, though. Oh, she stinks. Oh, what are we having for dinner? Ah, I lost me fork.
No, I lost me full bollocks. Scrub your mouth, fat boy. That's what that soap's for.
What's this for? You don't talk to me.
Well, I've got a breast in your pocket.
Oh, yeah. Sorry about that.
I just thought, maybe. There's a big maybe.
It's like the rest of them, though. They're all plausible.
I don't know.
They
Could come back.
The magician. No, I'll give you that. They're all plausible.
What about
They
the
are
quack
all
doctor?
plausible.
The quack doctor? He's weird.
He might be weird, man.
No?
He's that insane, they let him go. It's
so late.
It's
too early. So
no.
you're still gonna look at Mary Jane Kelly, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're really gonna look at her.
Well, she's not dead.
She might be.
Maybe.
But it like we've gone completely off track.
Yeah.
But maybe
Maybe.
it's the fact her DNA wasn't proven. She has no
There was
record.
no.
Maybe she did just vanish like a ghost, and it is just another woman. But if it does turn out that Mary Jane Kelly either faked her death or she was Jewel the Ripper, does that technically make me correct when I said it was a woman and you failed?
No.
I said it was a
yes,
woman.
yes.
And I also wait. I
we
also,
both get brownie points.
No, I also linked,
Because I undercovered them with them.
No, I also linked that Ip, Dip, and Dog and Shit. Right, all of them
Don't always make the bark.
No, they all knew each other, and I said to you that they would go around in groups.
True. But as we discussed in the first one, it's not unorthodox for groups of women to walk around.
They all had certain streets that they were allowed to walk up. But then when the rise of Jack the Ripper began, they all decided to group together.
Yeah. It's not unorthodox.
No.
But
You think Mary Jane Kelly was Jill the Ripper, didn't you?
I do. More than the Royals, and that is saying something.
I fucking win. I win.
You win, I get brownie points for helping. I get brownie points for helping.
No.
And if not, you'll be number 13, you young.
No, I've had a bad month. So that is your theory. You think either Mary Jane Kelly was Jill the Ripper, she faked her own death
and fled,
or she faked her own death and escaped because she knew she was next, and the police basically told her what to do.
I don't know.
It's been a very
That is unsettled.
It's been a very heated debate.
It has been a very heated debate.